Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. 2020 feels like both a mirror image and a bad movie, and we can't leave the theater. Many arts and entertainment venues are now adjusting to the COVID-19 crisis with restrictions in place. This episode will be discussing some of the new regulations. First, it's time for this week's trivia question, which will be answered at the end of the show. Rather than movies, this week's question focuses on books. The question is, which popular book series for young adults has experienced a boom in popularity due to a recent prequel? And now for this week's local entertainment news headlines. On May 29th, 7 arts and entertainment institutions in the Southern Berkshires announced their commitment to welcome visitors this summer. These were Berkshire Botanical Garden in Hancock, Chesterwood Gardens in Stockbridge, Hancock Sacred Village, Naumkeag Historic House in Stockbridge, the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, the Mount in Lenox, and the Tanglewood Grounds in Lenox. This will be part of Phase 3 of Governor Baker's 4-part reopening framework. Most of these places will allow their grounds to be open first, and visitors will be allowed on the grounds free of charge. However, most of the actual venues and facilities are remaining closed until further notice. Some of these facilities are already starting to open up. For example, on the week of June 1st, Hancock Shaker Village had a limited opening. Visitors are limited to the outdoor petting zoos, and admission tickets must be purchased in advance. Stay tuned to Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News for more information about venues reopening. Barrington Stage Company is adjusting their theater's layout to meet the 4-phase framework. As stated in previous episodes of WWHEN, the theater will be reopening with the performance of a one-man show titled Harry Clark. Contractors, as shown here, removed over half the seats at the Boyd Quinson main stage, reducing the number of seats from 520 to 163. Barrington Stage is taking several other precautionary steps before Harry Clark opens in August. These include no paper tickets. Tickets must be purchased online, requesting that only individuals who have been self-quarantining sit side by side, installing touchless features in the bathrooms, and the closures of gift shops and concession stands. Additionally, productions will no longer have intermissions until further notice. The Assawiltacook Rail Trail, known as the Mall Trail for its location to the mall, has reopened. The 12.7 mile-long trail, which runs through Cheshire, Lanesboro, and Adams, is encouraging walkers to follow social distancing guidelines, staying 6 feet apart, and wearing masks when walking. Many of the facilities on the trail are closed, including picnic areas, restrooms, and visitor centers. Visit mass.gov for information about public parks in Massachusetts. It's time for this week's history portion of WWHEN. But before I go to Shakespeare and Company's history in Lenox, I would like to announce some breaking news. Because Shakespeare and Company canceled its 2020 season, moving the scheduled performances to 2021, the company is hoping to collaborate with the Berkshire International Film Festival to offer a drive-in movie theater. The theater would show movies Thursdays through Sundays, starting on July 4th and running until September 20th. The movies would be shown on a stretch screen, 17 feet by 24 feet, and the space can accommodate approximately 52 vehicles spread apart for social distancing. Shakespeare and Co. has a public hearing before Lenox's Zoning Board of Appeals on June 17th to seek a permit for the drive-in. Stay tuned to WWHEN for updates. Shakespeare and Company was founded in Lenox by Tina Packer in 1978. Raised in England, Parker was interested in creating and running a theater company that merged the spoken and physical aspects of theater. Each year, they perform a large number of shows at numerous locations, including outside the famed Edith Wharton House. Approximately 75,000 patrons view Shakespeare and Company each year. The plays range from classic plays to contemporary works of theater to, of course, Shakespeare productions. Shakespeare and Company is also known for their famed acting training program. It is here where young actors develop an understanding of complex theater productions through an intense program with demanding classes. These include intensive studies of Shakespeare's work, physical training, and voice training. These classes are taught by an esteemed theater artist each year. Our second stop on this week's history tour is the Art Museum. As I mentioned on last week's WWHEN, the museum is currently closed due to COVID-19, but they are offering virtual tours and talks on their website. You can visit their website for a list of the exhibits on display virtually. The grounds of the Clark, however, remain open for walking. In 1946, art collectors Sterling and Francine Clark were interested in donating some of their pieces to a museum in New York State. After some research and family connections with Williams College, they changed their mind and decided that Williamstown was a more untapped place. At the time, Williamstown was only known for their college. They had yet to establish themselves as an important figure in the arts and entertainment world. On March 14, 1950, an official charter was signed for the creation of the museum. Construction began in 1952, and the museum officially opened to the public on May 17, 1955. At the time, only 2 galleries were on display, and the majority of artwork was not available to the public. Clark Art began receiving more art donations in the 1960s, and the museum grew more and more in popularity. What helped was the establishment of the Clark Art Professorship with Williams College. This rigorous 2-year program helps students form a foundation for careers in the museum fields. To accommodate for this, construction began on the Manton Research Center. This houses a library, graduate seminar rooms, galleries, offices, and an auditorium. The Clark has changed dramatically since it was first opened, creating several new buildings and exhibits that combine both art and education. It's now time for this week's movie news. Movies today have been going on demand or on streaming services. The latest movie to do this was Artemis Fowl, which was released on the Disney Plus service on June 12th. This is based off of a popular young adult novel series, which was first published in 2001. The movie deals with a young genius who comes from a family of criminal masterminds. He then comes into contact with the hidden world of fairies and must search for his father, who has disappeared. Production of Artemis Fowl has been very difficult. It was first rumored to be in development in 2003, but moved around studios frequently. Disney officially picked it up in 2017. The movie was first scheduled for an August 9th, 2019 release, but was moved to May 29th, 2020 for unknown reasons. Then COVID-19 happened. Disney Plus then announced it would take over the rights to the movie. Artemis Fowl stars Judi Dench, Colin Farrell, Josh Gad, and Ferdia Shaw. Now that I have discussed the young adult novel series that went to movie, it's time for the answer to my trivia question. As a reminder, this week's question was, Which popular book series for young adults has experienced a boom in popularity due to a recent prequel? The answer is the Hunger Games series. The new prequel, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, was released on May 19th. Despite the closures of bookstores, it still sold more than 500,000 copies in its first week alone. This prequel takes an interesting approach. It makes one of the antagonists in the original series, President Snow, the lead character and hero in the prequel. The first Hunger Games book was released in 2008 and was an influential piece of young adult literature. It led to a popular 4-film series and inspired many other novels in the process. That ends Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to my YouTube page at RT Wehry. Also, new episodes will be airing on PCTV on Spectrum Berkshire County, channel 1301. Visit www.pittsfieldtv.org for the full schedule. Thank you.